So hello students, welcome to the lecture. In this lecture, we are going to cover about the static part of the history. Okay. Already in our previous lectures, we had covered about the significant portion of the history, which is important from the examination point of view. Okay. But in this lecture, we are going to study about the several static part from which the questions are asked directly in the examination. Okay. So let's start the session. Got it? So let's start. So basically, in the previous lecture, I had told you if you want to study the history effectively, okay, then you have to start it with the division which stand for the ancient part, then the medieval part, and then the modern part. Okay, so this is the basic division of the history. Okay, besides this division, the history is also divided into prehistoric part, the proto-historic part, and the historic part. Okay, so if I talk about the prehistoric part, then we know that in prehistoric part there is no written work, only archaeological remains. Okay, so if we particularly speaking about the prehistoric part, then we know there is no written work, only archaeological remains are there. Okay, if we talk about the proto-historic part, then we can say written work is there, but not deciphered. Okay, and if we talk about the historic part, then we know historic part basically written work is available and decipherable. Okay, so this is about the prehistoric, protohistoric, and the historic. Okay, in the prehistoric part, there is no written work, only the archaeological remains from which we can study the history. For protohistoric part, yes, we have the written works, but the language which are used in the protohistoric inscriptions is not understandable, so we are not able to understand what is written in it. Got it? But when we talk about the historical part, then the written work is available and yes, we can understand it. Got it? So it is about the pre and proto historic. Got it? What about ancient, medieval, and modern part? So basically, today we are going to study about the ancient part. Okay? Today we are going to study about the ancient part in this lecture. Okay? So if I talk about the ancient part, then we must start with the time period. Okay, because this division of history, ancient, medieval, and modern, this division of history is only based on the timeline. Okay, and the pre, proto, and historic division is based on the written evidences. Got it? So when we are talking about the ancient history, because this is based on the timeline, then we must be aware about the time period. Okay, so basically the ancient India was begin from 647 AD. Okay, just write down the time period. It is begin from the 647 AD. Okay, and the first historical period which we have is starting from the 30 lakh BC and ended at 600 BC. Okay, so this is the timeline for historic period. Okay, I want you all to just write down the time periods. Okay, because the questions sometimes ask directly from them. Got it? Now let's move forward. Indus Valley civilization, yes, we had learned about it. So your Indus Valley civilization was from 2500 BCE to 1750 BC. Okay, so that was the time period for the Indus Valley civilization. Got it? After Indus Valley civilization, we have the Vedic culture. Vedic culture was started from 1500 BC and ended at 600 BC. Got it? Now, just write down Indus Valley starting from 2500 ending at 1750. Vedic culture starting from 1500 ending at 600 BC. Okay. Thereafter, we have the Mahajanpada period, okay, which is around 600 BC to 322 BC. What do you mean by Mahajanpad? The question is there. What do you mean by Mahajanpad? Basically, as we know that Indus was urban civilization, Vedic was semi-urban civilization, okay, but what were the Mahajanpads? Mahajanpads were basically large kingdoms, okay. So these were basically the large kingdoms which started growing nearly in 600 BCE. Nearly in 600 BC, they started to establish themselves, okay. And Mahajanpad here stands for Maha for big or huge, Janpad stand for public area, okay. So basically you can say Mahajanpad totally stand for big or huge public area. Got it? So Mahajanpad was existed between 600 BCE to 322 BCE, okay. And remember one thing, Mahajanpad was also the period for Buddhism and Jainism, okay. Mahajanpad was also a period for Buddhism and Jainism, or you can say these both religions basically originated during the period of Mahajanpad, okay. Even the kingdoms like Kurus, Panchals, okay, these Kuru and Panchals which had their mention in Mahabharat, okay, which had their mention in Mahabharat was also belong to the Mahajanpad period, or you can say they were also the Mahajanpadas, okay. Basically there were total 16 Mahajanpadas, okay. So Mahajanpads were basically 16 in number, including Kurus and Panchals, also Kashi and Avanti, okay. Avanti today stand as Ujjain, okay. So these were the Mahajanpadas, okay. Thereafter we have the Mauryan period. Mauryan dynasty was established by Chandragupta Maurya, okay. And this dynasty was belonged to 322 BCE to 185 BCE. Got it? So basically you can say the Chandragupta Maurya was the one who established this dynasty, okay. Now the question is, whom he defeated to establish the Mauryan dynasty? Then the answer should be Nanda dynasty, okay. So basically you can say the Mauryans destroy the Nanda dynasty to establish the Mauryan dynasty, okay. And who was the ruler of that time? The ruler was Dhananand, okay. So Dhananand was the ruler when Chandragupta Maurya attacked Patliputra, present Patna and nearby areas, okay. So Dhananand was the ruler when Chandragupta attacked Patliputra and captured the throne, and thereafter the dynasty was established as an Mauryan dynasty. Got it? Now let's move forward. After Mauryans we have the post-Mauryan era, okay, which is stand from 185 BC to 319 AD, okay. What do we mean by post-Mauryan era? Basically, post-Mauryan era significantly stand for the Shung dynasty. Okay, or you can understand it by this diagram. Okay, starting with Nanda dynasty, then Mauryan dynasty, then Shung dynasty, then Gupta dynasties. Okay, so these were the major dynasties which were in the quick succession, one after another. Okay, first of all, Chandragupta Maurya attacked the Dhananand and captured the throne. Got it? They ruled from Chandragupta Maurya to Bindusar to great Ashoka. Okay, and last ruler was Brihadrat. Last ruler was Brihadrat. Okay, and these all were the followers of Buddhism. Okay, so what happened in the end? The last ruler Brihadrat was killed. Was killed by commander in chief of Mauryan army. Okay, so the person who was the commander in chief of the Mauryan army under the Brihadrat killed Brihadrat and captured the throne of the dynasty, and the name was Pushu Mitra Shung. Pushumitra Shung. Okay, so Pushumitra Shung was the commander in chief of the Mauryan army who killed his ruler Brihadrat and captured the throne. And Pushumitra Shung was the Hindu. He was a Hindu follower. Okay, so he killed Brihadrat and then captured the throne, and he was the one who founded the Shung dynasty. Okay, after the Shung dynasty, we had the Gupta dynasty. Okay, remember in the last time when we were discuss about this thing, I had told you and I had given you one answer. Okay, and even today I'm going to ask you the same question and I want you all to give the same answer. Okay, and the question was, let me write it down for you. Who was the founder of Gupta dynasty? Okay, so this is the question which I would like to ask you. Who was the founder of Gupta dynasty? So what will be your answer? I'm giving you 10 seconds for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Most of you will think that one was the Chandragupta. Okay, Chandragupta. Most of the people will answer that Chandragupta was the founder of Gupta dynasty. And trust me, if you mark this answer in the question paper, you will get 0. Now you will think Chandragupta. Oh, Chandragupta was the founder of Mauryan dynasty. No. Mauryan dynasty founder was Chandragupta Maurya. Okay. There is a difference between Chandragupta Maurya and the Chandragupta. Okay. If the Maurya is mentioned, then the person is belong to the Mauryan dynasty and you can say he was a Chandragupta of Mauryan dynasty. But if Maurya is not mentioned, then we are talking about Chandragupta who was the ruler of Gupta dynasty, not Mauryan dynasty. Okay, now come back to the question. So if you answer that Chandragupta was the founder, then you will get 0 because he was not the founder. Now, if he was not the founder, then who was the ruler and the founder? The founder was Shri Gupta. The founder was Shri Gupta. And basically, this was the chart flow. Shri Gupta, then Ghatotkacha, Okay. Then Chandragupta. Then Samudragupta. Okay. Then Ramgupta. Then Chandragupta II, who was also known as Vikramaditya. If you ever listened about the story of Vikram Betal, okay, then this story belonged to the Chandragupta II. Okay, he was the Vikram of that story. Got it? After Chandragupta, Kumargupta, and the last one is Skandagupta. Okay, so this was the flow chart starting from Shrigupta, then Ghatotkacha, then Chandragupta, then Samudragupta, then Ramgupta, then Chandragupta II, then Kumargupta, and then Skandagupta. Okay, so this was the chart. So if you look at this chart correctly, then you will get your answer. Chandragupta was the third ruler. He was the third. He was not the first ruler of the Gupta dynasty. So the answer is Shrigupta. Shrigupta was the founder of the Gupta dynasty. Then the second ruler was Ghatotkacha. Then the Chandragupta. But there is one twist in this question. Let me show you the twist. Who was the real founder of Gupta dynasty? Okay, if I'm asking you this question, then the answer should not be Shrigupta. Then the answer should not be Shrigupta. The answer will be Chandragupta. Now I know that you will get confused. What is this? Like if I'm asking you who is the founder of the Gupta dynasty, I'm saying the Shrigupta should be the answer. But if I'm asking you who was the real founder of the Gupta dynasty, then I'm saying that Chandragupta should be the answer. Now, what is the logic behind this? So my friends, the logic is very simple. Shrigupta was the founder. He founded the dynasty. Only founded dynasty. But Chandragupta first was the ruler who brought the dynasty to the heights. Okay, so when I'm talking about the real founder, so I'm basically talking about the one who brought power to the kingdom. And if this thing is taken into consideration, then the real answer should be the Chandragupta first, who was the third ruler. Okay, but here I would like to give you one hint. If both are mentioned in the options, then always go for the Shrigupta. Okay, but if only one of them is mentioned, then always go to the either Shrigupta or the Chandragupta. Got it? So here we have finished about the Gupta period, which was started basically from 319 to 550. Okay, and we also know that Gupta period was commonly known as the Golden Age. Commonly known as the Golden Age. Now the question is why it is considered as the Golden Age? Because of the developments in art and literature, maths, science, astrology, economy, and all. Because of the developments, or you can say tremendous development in these fields, Gupta period is called as Golden Age. Okay, it is known as the Golden Age. Now let's move forward. Post Gupta period is stand for the Vardhan dynasty. Okay, which was started from 550 AD and ended at 647 AD. Now I want you to write down about several things regarding Vardhan dynasty. Okay, So basically, the Vardhan dynasty was founded by Pushyabhuti Vardhan at Thanishwar, Haryana. Got it? So, if I'm asking you who was the founder of Vardhan dynasty, the answer should be Pushyabhuti Vardhana. Do not confuse Pushyabhuti with Pushyamitra Shunga. Okay? Because they both are different peoples. Pushyabhuti Vardhan was the founder of Vardhan dynasty, whereas Pushyamitra Shunga was the founder of Shunga dynasty. Okay? This belonged to the post Mauryan era, but this belonged to the post Gupta era. Okay, so just remember the difference. Got it? So basically, we could say the Pushyabhuti Vardhan was the founder of Vardhan dynasty. He founded this dynasty at Thanishwar, which lies at Haryana, and this dynasty basically belongs to the post Gupta era. Okay, but if I'm asking you about the real founder of the Vardhan dynasty, if I'm asking about the real founder of the Vardhan dynasty, then what should be your answer? The answer should be Harshvardhan. The answer should be Harshvardhan. So basically, the Harshvardhan was the real founder of the Vardhan dynasty. Okay. And he was also a prominent scholar. Okay. He was also a prominent scholar because he wrote several books like Ratnavali, Naganand. Let me write down again. He wrote several books like Ratnavali, Naganand, and Priya Darshanika. Okay, so he wrote several books like this. Okay, just write them down: Ratnavali, Naganand, and Priya Darshanika. Okay, and even very famous Chinese traveler, even the very famous Chinese traveler whose name was Yuan Tseng, who was also known as King of Traveling or Prince of Traveling, King of Traveling or Pilgrimage. Okay, so Huang Tsang basically visited Harshvardhan. Harshvardhan. Okay, and when he visited Harshvardhan, so he got impressed by his judiciary system, second, taxation system, third, disciplined army, and the fourth is King University. Okay, so when Huang Tsang visited him, so he was extremely impressed by his judicial system, taxation system, disciplined army, and the generosity of the king towards his people. And remember the point that Harshvardhan was later killed by Pulisekin II. Just write down Harshvardhan was later killed by Puliskin II, who was the south ruler. Okay, and this battle was took place at Narmada Bank. Okay, so basically, Puliskin II had a battle with Harshvardhana at the bank of Narmada River, in which he defeated the Harshvardhan and also killed the Harshvardhan. That's how the Vardhan dynasty was ended. Got it? Now let's move forwards towards the court poets. Okay, court poets is an important topic. Okay, it is directly asked that which poet and which ruler belong to the, or which ruler had the poet from this and that. So this is the questions directly asked, like which poets belong to which ruler had which poet. This is the questions. Okay, so first thing is Bhanabhat. Bhanabhat was the court poet of Harshvardhana. Okay, we had just finished about the Harshvardhan, so he was the court poet of Harshvardhan. Same is Vakpati Raja was the court poet of Yashovarma, who was the Chandra ruler. Okay, thereafter the Padmagut Parimal, he was the court poet of Vakpati Munj, who was the Parmara ruler. Just write it down. First is a Bhanabhat, who was the court poet of Harshvardhan, who belongs to the Vardhan dynasty. Then the next one is a Vakpati Raja, who was the court poet of Yashovarma, who belonged to the Chandra dynasty. Then the Padmagupt Parimal, who was the court poet of Vakpati Munj, who belonged to the Parmara dynasty. Now, next is our Valal, who was a court poet of Bhoja, who belonged to the Parmara dynasty. Then the Bilhana, who was the court poet of Vikramaditya IV, who was the Chalukya. Remember, Vikram Aditya II was the Gupta ruler. Okay, but Vikramaditya IV is the Chalukyan ruler. Do not get confused. Thereafter, the Sandhyakar Nandi, who belonged to the Rampal, who was the Pala ruler. Then the Hemchandra, who was a court poet of Kumarpal, who belonged to the Chalukya dynasty, also known as Solanki dynasty. Okay. Thereafter, we had the Jai Singh Suri, who belonged to the Kumarpal. Thereafter, we had the Anand Bhatt, who belonged to the Balat Sen. Thereafter, we had the Chandvardai, who belonged to the Prithviraj III. And thereafter, Jayank, who belonged to the same ruler, Prithviraj III. Okay. So students, just write it down. It is V. Okay. Prithvi Raja. Got it? So here we had finished about the several parts of the static GK in the history, and you can say the ancient history context. Okay. In our next lecture, we will continue with the same. Till then, just revise all the facts so that you will be able to understand the upcoming facts clearly. Okay. Till then, thank you.